Hey guys, welcome back to Milk 2. So this past week I watched a little vampire movie called Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. And I think this is one of the best original movies I've seen in the theaters in a really long time. I know that a lot of people have kind of lost faith in movies and the movie theaters, but I think this, along with some other projects that have come out recently, kind of signified the return of important, meaningful original movies. So Sinners is kind of it's like a period piece mixed with a vampire action horror film. It's a movie directed by Ryan Coogler, so of course it stars Michael B. Jordan. And honestly, I have to say, in this movie, I think Michael B. Jordan actually gives probably my favorite performance. He plays the twin brothers Smoke and Stack. And throughout the course of the movie, you really begin to feel like these are actually two different characters. If you pay attention at all when you go to see it, Coogler loves to do this thing where he makes Smoke or Stack give each other an item to kind of like reaffirm in your mind that these are two distinct people that exist within the same world. They're not just like, you know how people edit like clones of themselves where they're just standing on one side of the screen and the other one standing on the other side, and then they kind of just they splice the two videos on top of each other. And this movie, the way that they do the effects for the twins is actually really complex, and it reinforces in your mind that these are two characters that are actually existing at the same time, even though they're both being played by Michael B. Jordan. Anyways, I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. In regards to the overall scope of the movie, I think it's actually really, really well done, especially for the genre that they're going for. In particular, I actually really liked the first like 75% of the film before a specific scene takes place where the aspect ratio changes very dramatically. If you've watched the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but Coogler kind of goes for this really slow build, so you can understand the emotional weight of each of these characters. And normally in these horror movies, you find that you don't really care about all the characters. I think the way that Coogler did it, where he introduced all these characters very slowly, and he took pretty much the whole first half of the film just to introduce the cast, I think that alone made this movie what it is. And that's kind of important because even though this is a vampire horror movie, that's not really what it's about, right? There's a lot of subtext about racism, about safe spaces for black people. There's a lot of addressing of themes about discrimination, not just against black people, but against other minority groups as well. And I think the way it's presented in the movie, Coogler does a good job of not beating you over the head with it. A lot of media these days are kind of don't appreciate the observer's intelligence. And of course, literacy rates are dropping dramatically, especially in the US. But I appreciate films like this that they have meaning both in the foreground and in the background. There's a storyline above that we can follow, but at the same time there's many subtext below that, like there's storylines with religion and Smoke's personal journey with religion and the afterlife and moving on. There's also a huge amount of importance placed in the musicality of this movie. The main character, played by Miles Catton, he is kind of the emotional center of this movie, and I feel like all of the themes, even though there's a lot of them, they all kind of weave back into the themes related to the musicality of the film. Especially the two musical numbers, you get a lot of those themes baked into those musical numbers. I would say that's probably the best scene of the film is the first musical number sung by Miles Catton. I'm kind of leaving a lot of details out of it because I want you to go and experience this movie for yourself. But I hugely, hugely, hugely recommend Sinners. If you haven't seen it yet, you definitely should. And if you're not physically able to get to a movie theater in the time that it's still out, you should definitely see it online. Now, if I was going to rank this movie, I would have to give it an A rank. And the only reason why it's not an S rank is because, as I was saying, there's a certain point in the movie where it dramatically shifts from a mystery horror film to sort of a very gory action horror film. And at that point, when the tone switched, I kind of not stopped caring completely, but I cared a lot less about the actions of the characters because things kind of go up in the air at that point in the movie. If it were up to me, I love those type of like 12 Angry Men situations where you have a group of characters confined to one space and they have to make decisions. Their, characters kind of have to clash against each other. I love stories like that, and that's what it seemed like it was going to be for a minute, but then it kind of dramatically shifts because of the actions of a specific character into a completely different type of genre of movie. And I think it's kind of cool that Coogler reflects the genre change with the aspect ratio change. And there's a lot of talk about that online, about the aspect ratio changing in relation to like themes with the past and the present, and then changes in genre and stuff like that. For me personally, I think I would have preferred if it was more along the lines of something like 12 Angry Men, where it was more of a slow, suspenseful, deliberating type of story, because I enjoy those, I think, a little bit more. There was one specific part where a character that was turned into a vampire stabs a knife through the door, and then all the characters kept putting their eyes up to the hole in the door, like to talk to that character on the other side of the wall, and I could not hold in my fear. I'm like a total shit brain scaredy cat when it comes to like jump scare stuff. So I had like my hands covering my head. I was kind of going crazy at some parts of the movie in the theater. Horror is not really my thing, but I heard the movie was really good, so I had to go see it. Anyways, Sinners, great movie, gets an A from me, and you should definitely go see it for yourself. I'm gonna come I'll be back later this week with a few more reviews, maybe one or two, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.